Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly.
This early season has a little bit of Revenge of the Nerds feel. You just got your you-know-what kicked by a bunch of you-know-what nerds.
There's bad beats, and then there's this.
These two teams could be going in opposite directions, and Miami will not think twice about running this thing up.
I still think there's a really good chance they make the playoff.
Sammy, don't laugh at me.
There's a really good chance that this is the most complete team in the country.
Losing Al Golden appears to be a big deal there, and Chris Ash, he was searching for answers the entire game.
This kid is legitimately a superstar. I mean,
and then Geoff will be out there.
I can't wait to let 18 to 22-year-olds go through it.
I made a call, to Vegas. I said, look, we actually need the paper here.
Welcome again to Bear Bets, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is the best place to bet touchdowns this season. And this week, new customers bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets paid instantly. Download the app. Just promo code BearBets. That's BearBets, 2 words when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Geoff Schwartz, Sammy P, joining us again for the weekend debrief, look ahead, whatever you guys want to dub it as, but we kind of just kick around the biggest storylines from this past weekend in college football, look ahead to some of the numbers and lines that we're potentially looking at, caught our eye, and going to track some movement and whatever else. But it feels like the best place to start this week is in the ACC, where this is me reaching around and giving myself a big pat on the back, because when you win, you say little, when you lose, you say less. So of course I'm going to violate that rule. Clemson dropping another one this week. Georgia Tech falling to 1-2 on the season, and a great note here from David Hale of ESPN.com. Go back over the last 8 games. Clemson now is a 50-yard touchdown run against Pitt and a walk-off 57-yard field goal against SMU away from having lost 7 of 8 games against Power 4 opponents. Frankly, this game should not have even come down to a fire drill field goal at the end of the game. That 3rd and 22 give-up run by Clemson, that Georgia Tech allowed them to convert, kind of kept that game close. Tech had some weird play calling in the red zone that kind of kept it close. So Georgia Tech was the better team, the right side. And Sammy, this was something that we discussed last week, you, I, and Geoff, about, was this an overreaction with the line movement or a market correction? And it certainly feels like, in both the case of the Georgia-Tennessee game and this Clemson-Georgia Tech game, that it was definitely more of a market correction than the overreaction, because the dogs were the right side both games.
Yeah, I mean, both of these dogs were about 6.5, and just crashed down. And clearly the one-way action continued against Clemson. You did have that Georgia buyback, Bear. They came in and bet Georgia at a small favorite price. There was never buyback really on Clemson. And we saw a couple books heading into Saturday where Clemson was laying 2.5. Yep. Got through the 3, which you never want to do because you don't want to get middled. If it lands 3, you lose everything. But Clemson was never the right side in the game. And that's been a team you've really had to catch up from a power rating standpoint, because, Vegas guys were telling us Clemson's power rated is a top 5 team. That's coming into the season.
Yep.
After the first couple of weeks, you had to drop them to about 10. And now what do? How much lower do you go? It's very difficult because we know the talent is there. The production has not been there, and they still cannot run the football. It's an alarming drop-off from a team, Geoff, that I think a lot of people thought still had top 5 talent. But when you don't produce, talent doesn't matter.
You're absolutely right about that. Yes, I want to give Bear, I apologize publicly on Twitter, Bear. I did shame you in our first interview. I said, you thought they go 6-6. You might be right. I might be the one who's wrong here. Look,
I didn't say that bad. I said 9-3.
I know you did. By the way, I think we were all high on Georgia Tech too. So that looks good from our angle. I have them over win total. I have them ACC. So that's great there. But nonetheless, here's my takeaway from Clemson. it's more a big picture idea about how we talk about college football in the offseason. So one thing we look at a lot is returning production, right? And I certainly cited this. I'm certainly guilty of this as well, Bear. But returning production, right? Great for Clemson this season. Hasn't been great on the field, right? We'll talk about Illinois a lot this week, but they're returning production, right? All their offensive linemen are back. Yeah, it hasn't looked like quite all their offensive linemen are back. Remember last season, Oklahoma State, oldest offense in the country. Everyone's back. How'd that go for them, right? And so I think maybe we need to adjust just the way we look at returning production. I've always said that are they returning because they're trying to win a championship, a la Ohio State, right? Or even Washington 2 years ago when Penix came back, all the wide receivers came back. Or are they just back because they're not good enough to be in the NFL, which is bad, right? If they're not going to be in the NFL, you want the guys that are NFL players to go to the NFL. So that's my takeaway is I think we might have to rethink how we look at returning production heading into next season.
Yeah, Clemson now minus 750 on the no to make the playoff. Yes, on the plus 450 to make the playoff. So if you are a Clemson believer, I would look whatever the better number is between win the ACC and make the playoff. That's what you got to take because they're going to have to win the ACC to make the playoff like they did last year. So whatever the better number is between those two, if you do think the Tigers have a run on them, but yeah, injuries to Antonio Williams, certainly a factor, inability to run the ball, a factor. So we'll see where Clemson goes from here. No Miami on the schedule in the regular season. So we'll see if the Tigers can make a run in the latter part of the year. Speaking of Miami, I never want to get too high on my alma mater, but Sammy, there's a really good chance that this is the most complete team in the country. And I think that price that we got on Carson Beck to win the Heisman, now you see him as the favorite to win the Heisman in a majority of the shops. They are now favored to win the ACC. They are ranked as high as they have been in 8-9 years. Big game this weekend, but I think all of the preseason Miami hype and everything that we heard from inside the building certainly has looked justified in the first 3 games of the year.
And there's a chance they could still be underrated. I texted with a couple of guys over the weekend. Where do we power rate them? Where does Miami list? And I heard still not top 5, still not top 5 from multiple people. And then you pull up the odds boards and Miami's 20-1 to win the national championship. So I think people are maybe believing that Notre Dame, obviously not as good as people think. And USF was a paper tiger that we talked about. I'm only upset though, Geoff, because during the show, we got you to bet Miami. And then Bear and I believe, Bear, we didn't put Miami in our best bets on the show.
No, we played the total.
Okay. I didn't play anything on the show. And then by Saturday, Miami was easily my biggest position. We didn't quite get there for best bets, but by the time we got to kickoff, it was very obvious that the public was on USF. The wise guys were on Miami. Their O-line and D-line to me might be the best in the country. If you line them up against any other team, that might be the best combination of line play in the entire country.
And that's why they're as good as they are, Sammy. It's that simple, right? If you're going to win every week in the trenches and you get Carson Beck, and this is a bad way to put it, but just not to screw it up, and he's better than that, obviously, you're going to win most of your games, right? You add in the young skill talent on offense, you add in the revamped secondary, right? They went all portal secondary, and it's a very good football team. And I think people have to get over this Mario Cristobal thing. I think that's sort of where people are still sort of like, I don't quite know. Yep. I mean, for the most part, guys, I watched him in Oregon, obviously. I watched he wins more games than not. Yeah, the Georgia Tech loss a couple years ago was bad. I get it. But for the most part, they beat teams up. They win in the trenches. Their pass rush is relentless. And I love, by the way, just personally speaking, the way they've built the offensive defensive line. You have to go high school and develop. And now in year 4, we're seeing him do that. We're seeing this former team, the Oregon Ducks, do the same thing, right? Just develop. And Miami is certainly the favorite to win the ACC for very good reason. Like, I don't think Georgia Tech, and again, I don't think they play this year until the end of the season if they meet again. Like, Georgia Tech just can't compete talent-wise with Miami in a head-up matchup. And I think not a lot of teams can do that right now because of the way they play in the trenches.
Yeah, and that's something that their opponent this week, Florida, you've kind of done the exact opposite where they went in and they got DJ Lagway, one of the highest recruits in the country at quarterback, and decide to develop an emphasis on recruiting the quarterback position, where Miami the last couple of years, yeah, they signed a couple of guys, but none of the real blue chip 5-star like quarterback leaders. They decided to go in. We're going to build offensive line. We're going to build defensive line, signing up, or at least getting the early commitment from Jackson Cantwell, the number one offensive lineman, maybe number one recruit in the country, is a big deal. But you mentioned Georgia Tech too, Geoff. To quote one of the great 1980s movies, like this early season has a little bit of Revenge of the Nerds feel. You just got your you-know-what kicked by a bunch of you-know-what nerds. Obviously, I left the words out. You got Georgia Tech undefeated. You got Cal undefeated. You got Vandy undefeated. Like, all these teams are off to great starts. And you got Notre Dame 0-2, Clemson 1-2, and Florida winless against FBS teams. So stand up for Lambda, 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 and Omega Mu.
I'm gonna say no one's probably watching Cal very much, but this quarterback, guys, is really good. And I know we might talk about this game later this week about fading them on the road against the Aztecs this weekend, but this kid is legitimately a superstar. I mean, he's still a rookie, obviously a true freshman. I mean, he's going to take some lumps and more this season, but Cal is a really good quarterback. If you have a quarterback like that, you're in a lot of football. We know Wilcox can coach on defense, but I don't think Cal's an ACC contender. But this quarterback, guys, is the real deal.
And this was a team that was supposed to be in disarray. I had guys that I really respect telling me to bet Cal under 5.5, and I tailed. Oh boy, did I tail!
So did I.
And here they are, 3-0, and you're like, oh, well, that was unexpected. Didn't we hear nothing but bad things and turmoil about Wilcox and Ron Rivera? And they lost 5 running backs, and they're going to start a freshman quarterback, and they have answered the bell in 3 straight weeks. Granted, the middle game was against a cupcake, but they've been very good. I wanted to move the Notre Dame for a second, if we can. So last year,
we can do whatever you want.
They go 11-1 and lose to Northern, make the playoff. This year, good chance they go 10-2 and have losses to Miami and A&M. Which resume is better? 11-1 with a loss to Northern, or 10-2 with losses to Miami and A&M? Well, I think it's obvious, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's the conversation that we're going to be having the rest of the year. I think the biggest question is this team capable of winning 10 in a row to go 10-2? I think they are. You got the game at Arkansas, which might be a little trickier than you might have expected. You got the home game at SC, maybe the game at BC late in the year. I mean, the BC's offense is pretty good, but again, if Rich Clark and that college football playoff selection committee is serious about using strength of record, strength of schedule, and really examining games, like where do you have Notre Dame power rated right now, Sammy?
Still in the top 10, right there.
Exactly. You lose on a last minute field goal at Miami, who is one of the best teams in the country. You lose on the final play to A&M, who's a really good team, on a play where there was a blatant hold that wasn't called, and you got help from Notre Dame with the snapper dropping a PAT. Now, that being said, give A&M all the credit in the world. They had almost 500 yards and came back from multiple double-digit deficits, but you put a majority of teams in that position with Notre Dame, opening with at Miami and home A&M. There's a good number of them that are going to go 0-2.
I think it just depends on the other teams around the country where they're at, right, guys, of whether or not Notre Dame is in this or not. I mean, if they're 10-2 and they've basically played well for 10 straight weeks, and USC is a big one, right? I think USC will probably be ranked at some point in the top 15 if they continue to play the way they are. They'll be in over someone else who is 10-2. It just depends on where the other teams are, right? You look at the Big Ten, and they're probably getting 3 or 4 teams in. The SEC's gonna get 3 or 4 teams in. Big 12 is probably just getting 1. So Notre Dame so the ACC is probably just getting 1-2, right? So Notre Dame definitely at 10-2 slots in pretty well. That I think I would still take them to make the playoff.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on the ACC with Florida State, like what happens to the loser of the Miami Florida State game the rest of the way. So we'll see about that. You can get Notre Dame, by the way, as long as plus 240 to make the college football playoff. So I think the odds makers still respect this team and feel like there's a good chance that you shape the narrative. It's Notre Dame. They got a really good quarterback, and they're going to get better as the year goes on. So I think I still think there's a really good chance they make the playoff.
They have to show me something, though, defensively. I mean, I think I started the conversation, and Barry, you correctly came in and said, are we sure they're going to be 10-2? I mean, they could have given up 50 in that game against A&M. They finally tightened a couple things up, but losing Al Golden appears to be a big deal there. And Chris Ash, he was searching for answers the entire game. I mean, guys were just going up and down the field for A&M. You're favored, though, in every game the rest of the way. Then again, you were favored at Miami and you were favored at home against A&M. So maybe being favored doesn't matter. Again, we can hang ratings and we can hang rankings or whatever you want to call them. Your team has to perform, and they have not performed in the second half of 2 straight games. I think it's a little sheepish to think that they can just rattle off 10 straight wins if they don't shore up this defense, because losing 4 guys to the NFL and losing their coordinator, clearly a lot more important there than it was at Ohio State. Ohio State lost 8 starters and lost their defensive coordinator. They look just fine on defense. Notre Dame does not.
Move on. Bad beats of the week. My nominee is in pro because I was a victim of it. And again, I get the mathematics of it, but had the Titans team total under, down 33-16, 2.5 minutes to go. They decide to kick a field goal, cut it to 33-19 with 2.5 minutes to go, because of course, you're going to get 2 onside kicks in the final 2.5 minutes to come back and tie that game from down 17. So yeah, Titans team total under 16.5 was a good one for me with a late field goal. And of course the Rams recover that onside kick and run the clock out. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that, playing the math, though, I mean, look, teams are doing a little bit better now. Obviously, I don't know if it's a bad beat. I wasn't on Jacksonville, guys, but that felt like a bad beat, right? Playing the math there, that 4th and 5, go for it. Could have gone up 6. You would have covered with the Bengals victory. They drop a pass and end up losing by 4 and not covering. Sammy, the other game, there was really 2 other games in college football. Were you on Penn State too, or were you just following along with us?
I just followed along because that's the second time in a row Franklin let the boosters down, and you can tell he is not happy on the sideline. Bear, you were airborne, so you couldn't see this live. So let's just call the closing number 52 or 47 rather. This is the play right here. This is 4th and goal from the 8. Watch this one-handed snag by the tight end. Yeah, grabs it, gets both feet in. This is after a false start penalty as well to make it 4th and 8. 3 seconds to go. Look at the elevation by the catch.
Athleticism, FCS style.
And what was even crazier is Penn State called a timeout, like to set the defense up. Like and there's video of Franklin on the sideline of him and the AD, like hands on knees watching the play. They were not happy about this. They want to pitch a shutout, obviously. My nominee.
Yeah, that's the thing, Geoff. Before I sorry to cut you off, but I think like they have like more shutouts, or they're tied with Alabama over a certain period of years. So like, that was a priority to be that they could say like, we alone have the most shutouts since 2020 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, and that was a bad way to lose it. I think Villanova actually scored a touchdown on the play before too, but it was upon review ruled not a touchdown. So look, they didn't cover the 48.5. I had a small play on it. The bigger play I had, guys, was the Utah game, and it was in our contest this week.
Yep.
So I feel bad that we have a loss there. So Wyoming was catching 23.5 here, 3-0 at halftime. Now Utah certainly could have been up a lot more at halftime. It's now 24-0. Utah 24-0. Wyoming drives down the field, scores, goes for 2 and misses. It's 24-6 with 4 minutes left. I'm within the number. Wyoming calls no timeouts and no onside kick. They kick the ball deep.
Give it up.
Utah has the ball. They're giving it up. Utah goes 75 yards on 6 straight rushing plays to score a touchdown with 1 minute left to win 31-6. And then Wyoming gets the ball back with a minute left. They run the ball twice and go home with a loss, 31-6. I mean, there's bad beats, and then there's this. We were on the right side.
Yep.
It was in the number the entire game, and it just didn't go our way. And I feel sorry because we put this in our contest this week, and it was one of our losses. I mean, such is life, I guess, in college football. But I thought I was the right side, though, man.
Yeah, you can blame me, I guess, a little bit for it, because I sent a text in I don't know if it was halftime or third quarter, and I think I even wrote, I said, win or lose, great bet Wyoming. and it certainly wound up losing.
Every weekend, guys. Yeah.
It happened a couple times, though. I mean, I had Western Michigan. Illinois has shanked me 2 weeks in a row. Now, I'm not going to say Duke was a bad beat because Duke turned it over 5 times.
Right.
But then I come right back on Western, take 27.5. It's 3-0 after 1. It's 10-0 after the half. And then it's 38-0 final because Illinois scores 28 in the second half and Western doesn't score a single point. I'd make that bet again tomorrow, but that's 2 straight weeks now where Illinois has hit me right in the side with a shiv, and I don't want to do it again. I don't want to be that guy, Geoff. I think maybe you can take the baton for Indiana. I'm not doing it again. I'm not living this nightmare.
So looking ahead, we'll do that soon. I will be on Indiana pretty heavy for this weekend, Bear. We get that on Thursday's show.
I'm looking forward to a probable appearance for Big Noon Kickoff next week in Champaign-Urbana for the USC game. I'm sure they will be greeting me with lots of love and hugs and kisses and cheers.
Sammy, I saw Bear this weekend for Big Noon Kickoff in Northwestern. There were fans cheering Bear, like they were into some Bear as he walked by the fans. It was a fun experience to see him behind the scenes there, just tucked away in his little corner. Getting ready for his game. He gave out, it's a perfect Bear. He gave out Delaware on national TV, easy cover there, just like the ugliest games imaginable. One outright. Just, hey man, wins is all we care about. That was a unique setup this past weekend for Northwestern. That I really thought that the early start and the atmosphere wouldn't matter. And now I think the atmosphere absolutely matters in every game played at Northwestern's temporary stadium, guys. It's impossible if you are the visiting team to get up to play there. It's 12,000 fans at the most. There's no juice in the stadium. They play music the entire time, like it's a NBA game. There's minor league events in between TV timeouts. They have races on the field and they're doing all these giveaways. They threw burritos in the crowd at one time.
Did you get one?
I did not, unfortunately. They're throwing shirts in the crowd. It was a weird atmosphere. I'm glad I went, but it's definitely not normal for college football.
And thank you to everybody who did come out and weathered that weather early on before, about 15 minutes before we went on air. I mean, there was rain coming down just sideways all over the place. So tip of the cap to the people who came out early for the show, got rained on, and then wound up staying for the weather during the show and weather during the game was great. But pre-show, it was a mess. Speaking of mess, are they a mess, Geoff? Your Kansas City Chiefs, I should say the Kansas City Chiefs. I shouldn't say your. 0-2, really 2 games that they could have won. I mean, yesterday they were a tipped ball in the end zone that could have been caught from probably winning that game against the Eagles, and they're sitting here 1-1 as opposed to 0-2. But now the Chiefs 0-2. Minus 165 to the yes, plus 115 to the no on making the playoffs, plus 700 to win the AFC, still just behind Buffalo and Baltimore, plus 280 to win the division, still just behind the Chargers. I think the long-term view, at least I have on Kansas City, is a bye. The Bengals losing Burrow was a big deal. The Denver theft of a win by the officials, moving the Broncos to 1-1, is a big deal. You look, they're going to beat the Giants. They should beat the Giants this week. If they can get to 5-3 between that 2-game stretch, or 4-4 at the worst, where they have the 2-game stretch at Buffalo and the Broncos, that would be a good thing. Rice is coming back. So I have the Chiefs as a bye right now. Geoff, I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I don't know, man.
That's a quick 180 from text messages before the year. Like, are we going to go to the Super Bowl again and talk about the Chiefs in their 11th straight Super Bowl?
Well, the issue is that they had Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy when they sent those text messages, and they don't have those guys now. And you look at the skill position group at the moment. Now, Worthy might come back soon, but it's bottom 5 in the NFL. It might be 32, right? Like, wow. When the offense, like, think about it. When the offense is whole, right? When Rice and Worthy are there, it puts Hollywood Brown from wide receiver 1 he is now to 3. Like, that's a great position for Hollywood Brown to be in. It takes Thorne from 2 where he's now to 4. It takes Noah Gray, right, to be the second tight end option. Now he's got to play a little bit more. It also takes pressure off the run game. The running backs are not good. Like, they don't break any tackles. They're older, and particularly off an injury, he wasn't really a burner anyways. And so all the pieces together do not work when the wide receivers are not there. And I understand people say, "Oh, Mahomes, you should figure it out." I guess maybe he should, but if the Eagles don't have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, are they the same offense? I would argue no. So the margin of error is tiny, right? Kelsey drops that pass. He should catch the football. He doesn't, and the game is over. There's no way to recover from that right now if you're Kansas City. So that's my concern, is the margin of error is so small because you don't have weapons around you right now, Sammy. So look, I think that when Rashee Rice comes back and Brown comes back, they're going to be different. They're going to be better. I don't know if now is the time to buy. They're 5.5-point favorites at New York. I don't know if I love the matchup for them, especially with the Giants' defensive line, but there are real issues. There are real issues right now. And then schematically, last thing I'll say, like, the offense is just boring. Like, it's just kind of boring and stale at the moment. Again, it could very much be because the wide receivers just aren't very good. The best drive they had of the game was the one where Kelsey dropped the pass, where they opened up the playbook. They ran a ton of plays they hadn't run all game. They looked really good. Then, of course, on that little angle route, drops a touchdown pass.
It is funny, though, and we know why this is, because they don't want to give away Kansas City at big numbers. Although I was hoping for 10. We talked about this last week. I was hoping to get a 10-1. Best number, DraftKings has 7-1 on the Chiefs. I want more than that, but it is wild. Look at these other 0-2 teams. The Titans are 120-1. The Dolphins are 120-1. The Browns are 200-1. Chiefs have the same record, and they're 7-1. I mean, it is crazy to say that out loud. And then the Colts, who are 2-0, are 30-1 to win the AFC. Chiefs are 0-2, and they're 7-1. You nailed everything, though, Geoff. I mean, the offense looks so vanilla. The home run threats just aren't there. Mahomes overthrew the one guy, was it Thornton, down the stretch, down the field. That looked bad, but then he connected at the end with like 3 minutes to go. He did hit that home run ball. Defensively, they're so good on the front. You know, I thought they really did a good job against the Eagles running game. Maybe we had some false starts too, Bear, from the Eagles on the tush push. Maybe a false start or two. Blandino's on the broadcast saying, "I'm done with the tush push." And I'm like, me too.
I think I'm pro tush push, but it's being banned 1,000% after the season.
It has to be.
The thing about it is they just can't officiate it correctly. And this is not an excuse for the officials. It's obviously very easy for us to watch in slow motion to see those guys jump off sides. I think officials from where they are, it's just hard to see, and they don't know what to do about this play. Because what happens if it looks like it's a false start, but it's not? You flag them. You don't want to be in that position, right? Where you call a false start, it's not a false start. They do, by the way, just tend to lean on not calling it, right? We see all the time with these tackles that get a little bit of a jump. They lean on not calling it, right? So I get why they don't do that here, but it was so blatant this game that they're going to have to figure out what to do. I think Dean Blandino's comments, Sammy, caught my attention too. He just said, "I'm done with it." And I hate talking about it every week. I hate defending the play. I'm tired of talking about it too. I think it's absolutely gone. It's not really fair to the Eagles, who, if they're not going to call it, just keep doing it, right? They're not going to call any penalties, just keep playing it. But it is what it is.
Yeah, but the thing is, so the offense is allowed to push. You can push your players, but the defense can't push and get leverage to block a kick or whatever else. So, like, you have to allow, like, it's good for the offense, but not for the defense. Well, and that was a ridiculous garbage call by the officiating crew in Indianapolis yesterday. Like, leverage. No one even got pushed off of someone and went in the air. If you watch that replay, you call that on a 60-yard field goal, which completely changes the trajectory of. I mean, we bet on this stuff. They called pass interference on Travis Hunter on a perfectly defended play where he even turns to look for the ball. Like, we bet actual real money on this league with horrendous officiating.
Yeah. Let's shout out Rob Pizzola, who works for the Hammer. He tweets this in all caps basically every Sunday. We wager actual dollars on this league in all caps. Look, we do. I mean, we definitely do. But on that fourth and goal, at the 1, the left guard for the Eagles is already in the end zone and the ball isn't snapped yet. Can you tell that maybe I was hoping for a better finish there in a contest? Maybe. on the Chiefs. It is what it is, guys. That Eagles team, very resilient. The Chiefs were not as resilient as we're used to seeing. So that's the way the cookie crumbled on Sunday.
I got one more NFL thing I want to throw in there, and I'm sure everyone's going to be mad at me back in the studio for not giving him in, but I'm getting wound up now. What the hell was this story with Shadur Sanders over the weekend?
Oh,
So let me, I don't want to back up Lamar Jackson and go to one of the best organizations in the NFL and learn and develop under a multiple time MVP and maybe get some mop up duty and learn from Lamar and that staff. And you know what, maybe play out my rookie contract and then move on and become a starter somewhere and make a career. No, I want to go to the Browns and sit behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. That's what I want to do. What the hell was that?
okay. So I really, really hate when we do this reporting basically on like what essentially is what teams would have drafted if they had a chance to do it. And just like we hear this all the time about Mahomes, right? Like the Saints would have drafted him. Well, then draft him. Like I just hate the revisionist history about this stuff. I mean, I guess the Ravens called him and he said no, but he's a 5th round pick. Like, what are you're going to say no?
Do you have?
You're going to say no? Like the Ravens really wanted to draft him. So like they really wanted him. He said no. And they're like, okay, cool. Like we're not drafting you. I don't believe it, Bear. I just don't believe it. I don't believe that they called him and said, we're drafting you. And he said no, Sammy. So that's my opinion on it. I don't like these revision history draft stories. He's a 5th round pick. I don't think he flat out said no to the Ravens, but that was what was reported.
Moving on. Whatever the hell this is down in college football 4. I'm losing
4 already.
But we're getting to the point now where I need to bring the week in the season where I need to bring the hotel room key in the sleeve with me every week to remember what my hotel room number is for where we're going. Lines were eyeing this week. First one that stuck out to me just because of the number in itself. UCF is the worst team in the Big 12. They are a 6.5 point favorite over North Carolina. Like what does that tell you about the perception of Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels? That the worst team in the Big 12 is a touchdown favorite over you. I'm not betting the game, but the line just stuck out to me for like an eye-opening type of deal. But the line that is interesting to me because it feels a little bit like last week. You saw some Miami, like look ahead lines. It was like 3.5, but then you saw some Miami 9.5 prior to the actual re-release. And the number came down 9.5. And now it's down pretty much 7.5 across the board against Florida. This kind of echoes what the LSU Florida game was last week. You saw some 9s, 9.5s, and then you saw it come down all the way to, it came down to 7. I don't know if it got any lower than 7. But LSU wound up covering that game. DJ Lagway, 5 picks. It was an ugly watch. LSU's offense was not great in the game. And by the way, to follow up on piggyback on the MGM 5 biggest public ticket count plays of the week.
Oh, yeah.
They were 1-4 again last week. So, and I think that LSU game was the only one that wound up winning. So what is that now? 2-13, I think, on the season. The 5 biggest public plays of each week. So curious to see what the public plays are this week. But I'm curious to see now with this Miami Florida game down to 7.5. Is there going to be another buy low, Sammy, on Florida, or expecting to be a buy low on Florida for a team that Miami gets off to the start they did against like Notre Dame and the start they did against USF last week? Florida just needs one little nudge, and they're going to fall into their grave for the season.
Number opened 8.5, got bet out to 10, but after hitting 10, it's been one way, all the way down on Florida. Apparently, people love that 5 interception performance from DJ Lagway enough to get there. People just keep shorting Miami. It's not only the bettors, it's the bookmakers. Nobody wants to lay numbers with Mario Cristobal. And Geoff, you may have nailed it. I think people have to get over that because these two teams could be going in opposite directions, and Miami will not think twice about running this thing up. This is all about recruiting, guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they did the other day in South Florida right at the end. Like they're not going to stop in this game. And I think we do have to get over the Mario Cristobal thing. Like, he's got a much better team. He's proven this now, and I would expect him to play well. Guys, I haven't mentioned this team at all the entire season. And last year they were my darling, even though they barely got over. But I think it's back. It's time, Bear, to back Sunge this weekend.
They have
State
an offense,
University
man.
of New Jersey. And Sammy, don't laugh at me. It's a fade of Iowa as well. Iowa's quarterback stinks, okay? I don't know why people, like legitimate college football people, were telling me that this kid was going to be good. He's not been good. I'm pulling up their numbers right now, the official numbers on offense. They're 110th in the country yards per play. Their explosive offense right now is ranked 135th. I think there's 135 teams in the country right now. The Rutgers can score, as Bear mentioned. Now, their defense is not very good, but Iowa's on the road here, man. The other road game they played at Iowa State, 13 points. I think Rutgers covers the 2.5 or 2 right now, and I'm okay taking it now before I think this disappears.
That's the thing. Like, you cited those stats, 110, 112, whatever they are. That's with 2 games against Albany and UMass.
Correct.
They were incompetent against Iowa State. And I know Rutgers maybe defensively isn't as great as they've been, but they still got a really good defensive coach, Greg Schiano, and an offense that might potentially be the best that they have had in the Schiano era, Sammy.
Sunge. We're going to do the Sunge thing again, huh?
SU.
Yeah, we are.
And Jay.
We are.
You might be able to see the Sunge helmet over my shoulder in the background there. Old school NJ Rutgers.
Sammy, before we get out of here, I need your opinion on this. Do I lay the 4.5 with Indiana now, or does number move at all throughout the week? Like, am I getting the best number today, or am I getting a better number later in the week?
Circa opened at 5, which even I thought was high. I'm in such a pretzel on this whole thing. Like, I did not make the game Indiana 5. And then we got down to 3.5. There was some money that drove it down to 3.5 early on Monday. And then the 3.5 got blasted back to 4.5. So they're fighting around the 4 for now.
I'm not betting it.
I want no part of this game. I'm staying far, far away. Guess what, though, Bear? We just got an announcement from the Big Ten. The noon game on Fox next Saturday, USC, Illinois.
There we go.
Not a big USC fan, but they're gonna
maybe you and Geoff will come join me, and you can do your and then Geoff will be out there.
Bear, when I do that, I use a different finger, just FYI. So I will, no, that's Oregon Penn State weekend. I'll be sitting.
That's going to be awesome.
I know everyone's waiting for this, but Jersey Jeff is coming back in about a week. Just letting you know, I got 3 of them now. It's back. It's going to happen. I'm glad Penn State has a bye before they host a team flying 3,000 miles to face them. So that should be a fun game in a couple of weeks.
It's going to be. I am curious to see what the number opens at. And that, what do you think? Penn State 3.5, maybe. Sammy, it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. You got Georgia, Alabama next week too, right?
Yes, as well. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah,
they're about equal on a neutral. So you give Penn State the home field and you get it to 3.5. That'd be my guess. I'd like to throw that graphic up real quick. That was not a typo on Clemson. That's definitely not a typo. They are laying 17 this week to the Orange. I mean, nobody's going to want to lay it. Bear, are we getting there? Are we taking the Clemson Tigers minus 17.5?
I don't know. They're offensively, I know Syracuse is terrible. I mean, this might be a type of a hangover type deal with them as well. Like, at least Fran Brown's going to be selling his players, selling his team on being able to end Clemson's season, but I don't know. I can't get there with Clemson laying a big number right now. I'll just wait for him to lose one more game, and I can have my Clemson under 9.5 at plus 150 or whatever it was graded, and I'll be happy with that.
If Syracuse loses, do they run sprints afterwards? Or is it only when they win? I'm kind of confused on their sprint running schedule after the game.
That'll be good. Let's have Cleo. Let's have them run sprints up the hill out of the back of the end zone. At Clemson, you got up the hill, touch Howard's Rock, come back down. Let's see if they do that. So appreciate everybody for listening in one more time. Kicked around a bunch of stuff. Thanks to everyone for watching on our YouTube channel, listening wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever that may be. Rate, review, subscribe. We will be back again Thursday with Bear Bets College Football Edition, Bear Bets NFL Edition. Friday, Bruce and the Bear from Utah, which is where Big Noon Kickoff will be. Sammy will join us along with Bruce Feldman from the Fox studio in LA. So for Sammy, for Geoff, I'm Bear. Remember, the less you bet, the more you lose when you win.